Just about every neighborhood has that one house. The one where kids don't dare knock, even on Halloween. Ours was across the street, and it belonged to Bud Fillmore, the quiet neighbor. Or at least, that's what we thought. When we moved into the neighborhood, the first thing people told my parents was to avoid the man who lived directly across from us. Bud Fillmore. He wasn't some old-timer who'd lived there for decades. He'd only been there a few months longer than us. But his reputation was already sealed. I was 9. My brother, Scotty, was 11. We thought the stories were just exaggerated gossip. Until the first time our baseball rolled onto his lawn. It was a Saturday. Scotty threw too high. I missed. The ball rolled to the edge of Mr. Fillmore's yard. I tiptoed toward it. Just as I reached down, "What the hell are you doing?" A short, red-faced man came stomping out, voice like gravel and rage. I tried to explain. "Not my ball." But he just grabbed it and stormed back inside, slamming the door so hard the window shook. That was our first real encounter, but not the last. Weeks passed. We tried to avoid him. We always kept our distance, but the house kept watching us. There was a figure in the upstairs window. A woman. Thin, tall, hidden behind curtains. I like to think she was kind, maybe even lonely. My mom said she was sick, so one day I waved at her. Just once. The next second, Bud stormed outside and screamed at me. When I looked again, the woman in the window was gone. Scotty got a remote-controlled helicopter for his birthday. We were flying it outside, being careful, until it veered out of control and nosedived straight into Bud's hedges. As if he'd been waiting, he ran, grabbed the toy, and vanished back into his house without a word. This time, our parents went to talk to him. He refused to answer the door. But Scotty? He wasn't done. We're getting our stuff back. All of it. His plan was simple. Childish. Stupid. We'd wait until Bud left, then break in. The next day, we watched Bud drive off. Scotty broke the side window with a rock and reached in to unlock the door. I told him it was a bad idea, but he just whispered, "He can't prove it was us. No one likes him." The house was dark. Too clean. Every window covered. The air smelled like chemicals. It didn't feel like a home. It felt like a tomb. We searched downstairs. Nothing. "He must keep it upstairs," Scotty said. I tried to stop him. I begged. But we crept up anyway. The second floor felt heavier. We heard footsteps. Floorboards creaking above. I wanted to leave. He didn't. We checked 2 bedrooms, empty. Then we saw the third room, the one where the woman always watched us. The door was ajar. Inside was no woman. A mannequin sat on a stool in front of a vanity, dressed in a flowered 50s dress, pearl necklace, blonde wig, head tilted toward the mirror. We stared at it in frozen confusion. We heard someone walk in here. Then, the floor creaked beneath Scotty's foot. The mannequin's head turned. Her head snapped to face us. We ran. We hit the stairs hard. Behind us, she was crawling across the ceiling, like a spider, head twisted backward, blank face aimed directly at us. She skittered down the wall, reaching. I screamed. Scotty pulled me. We tumbled down the stairs. Then he screamed. I turned. Her hand was wrapped around his ankle. Crunch. She was dragging him back. He yelled, cried, "Liz, run." I ran. I didn't stop. When the police came, there was no sign of Scotty. No blood. No fingerprints. No toy helicopter. Nothing. Just one missing child and a mannequin upstairs. It belonged to his late wife, they said. He keeps it around because it reminds him of her. They called me confused, traumatized, delusional. I know what I saw. I know what Scotty gave up to save me. A few weeks later, someone taped a note to our door. It said, "I tried to keep you away." Bud moved out 2 years later, but I never stopped watching that upstairs window, waiting to see the figure behind the curtains, waiting for the quiet neighbor that everyone said never existed. If you have a true horror story you'd like to share, send it to the email in the description. Stay safe out there, and don't trust everything you see in the window. The man in the window. I'm a single father, 33 years old, living in Texas with my 2 kids. My daughter Alessia, who's 8, and my son Jay, who's 4. Their mom's been out of the picture for 2 years now. Not dead, just worthless. And honestly, it's been going okay. We live in a quiet, decent neighborhood. A modest 2-bedroom house, friendly neighbors, a solid job. Life was predictable until 2 months ago. That's when something started happening next door. It started with Jay waking me up in the middle of the night. He poked me in the face, sobbing. Not the hurt kind of crying, the scared kind. He whispered, "The man in the next house is making scary faces at me." Jay's always had nightmares, but this was different. It felt specific. I walked with him to the kids' bedroom. Alicia was awake in the top bunk, arms crossed, clearly annoyed. Jay looked out the window earlier, where the curtain had been slightly open. I looked through the same crack. The neighbor's house is visible from that window. 2 windows on the side wall, but it was too dark to see inside. I asked Alicia if she saw anything. She just scoffed. "He's always crying. I can't sleep. It's not fair." So Jay camped in my room that night, in his little TMNT tent. Nothing happened. Until the 3rd night. This time, Alicia woke me up. The neighbor was making faces at me. I asked her to explain. She said she heard a strange noise and peeked through the curtains. The neighbor's back room light was on. He was standing right up against the window, staring at her. I asked, what was he doing? She didn't answer. Instead, she recreated it. She grinned unnaturally, teeth bared, eyebrows furrowed. Then she strained her neck forward and made a bizarre gesture, one arm flat, the other hand mimicking a sawing motion across it. She said he was playing the violin, but it was obvious. He was pantomiming cutting himself. I told her to stop immediately. Then, she said he also made a gesture, calling her closer, beckoning. That night, both kids slept in my room. The next morning, I knocked on the neighbor's door, over and over. His car was in the driveway, but he never answered. As I turned to leave, I caught movement. He ducked out of view from his front window. I yelled at him to stop with us. That night, I decided to stay up in the kids' room. Around midnight, I heard it, a clicking sound, not mechanical. Tongue clicks, repeated, rhythmic, and human. Then, a whistling sound, more like someone sucking air through their teeth. I yanked the curtain open. He was there, dim light behind him, that same disturbing grin. His arms flailing against each other violently in a mimic of cutting, a grotesque performance. When he saw me, another adult, his smile vanished. Rage took over his face. He slammed the window shut and yanked the curtains closed. I froze, pulled the curtain again. Nobody there, but a handprint near the top corner of the window. It's worth mentioning, our house sits on a raised foundation. That handprint? It was way too high.
It's 911. What's your emergency?
I called 911, walked through the house, gun in hand. My kids were awake but quiet. I told them everything would be okay. Then I saw him again. Through the window, the silhouette of a man appeared. Against the moonlight, he stood completely still, facing us. Then he stepped back and raised his arms into a Y shape. Only his arms were too long. Each arm was nearly the length of his entire body. Long, thin, with human-like hands, 5 fingers each. They wiggled as he pressed them against the glass. Thud, thud. I stood up, ready to shoot. But then, sirens. The man banged on the window one last time. Then, his forearms just fell off, like they'd been sliced mid-air. And he ran off into the night, fast, like something not entirely human. I told the police everything. 2 officers entered the neighbor's house. The front door was unlocked. When they came back out, they both looked shaken. The female officer said just one thing: "Your neighbor's dead." Later, outside my bedroom window, police were photographing something. 2 human arms, real ones. They never told me what else they found in that house. The kids and I have been staying with my parents ever since. We don't talk about what happened. But here's the part that still keeps me up at night. If my neighbor was already dead, then who or what was at the window? The police never released more information. The family moved out of state. The case remains officially unsolved. My wife and I just moved into a quiet cul-de-sac in the suburbs. The kind of place you only find after months of research. Safe, calm, close to schools and far from the chaos of the city. She was pregnant, and this was supposed to be our fresh start. Our perfect home. Our first night was quiet until I couldn't sleep. I've always had trouble sleeping in new places. So around 2:30 in the morning, I got out of bed. I went downstairs, poured a glass of water, and opened the window for some air. That's when I heard it, a muffled voice, coming from the house next door. I looked out the window and saw her. A woman in her 50s, standing alone in the dark. She was making a handshake gesture, over and over again, and repeating the same words. "Ah, you're the new residents. I'm Mrs. Ainsworth. What a nice day. Funny to think it's nearly Octo Shak nearly, O-Sitio dash H. What a nice day. Funny to think Halloween is nearly here." She kept doing it, like she was practicing, resetting a script. I went back to bed, too weirded out to make sense of it. The next morning was perfect. Sharon danced around the kitchen to 80s music. She was glowing. I almost told her about the neighbor, but she was so happy, I didn't want to ruin the moment. As I walked to my car, I saw her again, Mrs. Ainsworth. She was wearing the same outfit and said the exact same thing, word for word. "Ah, you're the new residents. I'm Mrs. Ainsworth. What a nice day. Funny to think Halloween is nearly here." Her handshake was cold. Her smile was off. Then she walked backward a few steps before turning around and vanishing under her garage door. That night, I told Sharon what I saw. She said maybe the neighbor had a brain injury. She's a therapist, so I tried to trust her judgment. I wish I hadn't. I woke up again around 2 a.m. to the bathroom, and just happened to glance out the upstairs window. That's when I saw them. In every single house on our street, someone was awake. But not just awake, practicing. A man in a sweatsuit jogged in place in his dark living room, turning his head, waving, repeating. A girl skipping rope in pitch black. A man in oil-stained overalls, mimicking fixing something with an invisible wrench. Again and again, over and over. Then, he looked at me. Our eyes met, and I dropped to the floor, heart pounding. When I looked back, he was gone. I told Sharon again, told her something wasn't right, that they weren't acting. They were rehearsing. She said I was tired, delusional. We argued, and before I left, I noticed something strange. She didn't call me babe, like she usually does. She called me hun. I got in my car and started to drive, but I couldn't. I pulled over and just watched. That same jogger passed by my car. Same sweatsuit, same fake surprise, same wave. Then his face dropped, expressionless, as if he no longer needed the mask. And then I saw it. He reached his front door and stopped. Thin, spidery legs began sliding out from between his lips. Long, jointed, inhuman limbs, curling into the dark. I called Sharon in a panic. She didn't believe me. Said I needed sleep, said I was losing it, but I know what I saw. I know what's happening here. I just don't know if it's already too late. Because this morning, she didn't call me babe. She called me hun.